My ex-wife sued me for child support even though we share custody of our kid, but I went along with it and watched her and her lawyer embarrass themselves in front of the judge. I, 42M, have been divorced from my ex-wife, 39F, for about 3 years now. We have one amazing kid together, Marcus, 8M, and despite the divorce, we managed to work out a perfect 50-50 custody arrangement. Everything was running smoothly until about 6 months ago when my ex decided she wanted more money. But let me back up a bit and give you the full story, because there's a lot of context that makes this whole situation even more ridiculous. Sarah, my ex, and I met in college. She was the ambitious type, always talking about becoming a top-tier real estate mogul, while I was the typical computer science nerd who spent more time debugging code than socializing. Somehow, we clicked. Maybe it was because I was one of the few guys who didn't fall for her usual charm offensive, or maybe it was because I actually listened when she talked about her dreams. Either way, we ended up dating through senior year and got married right after graduation. The first few years were great. I landed a job at a tech company, and she started building her real estate career. We bought a house, with her employee discount, of course, and everything seemed perfect. Then Marcus came along, and things started to change. Don't get me wrong, Marcus is the best thing that ever happened to me. He's smart, funny, and has this way of looking at the world that just makes you want to be a better person. But Sarah, she struggled with the whole work-life balance thing. She'd always been career-focused, and suddenly having a tiny human dependent on her 24/7 threw her for a loop. We tried making it work. I took paternity leave, we hired a nanny, we tried every possible schedule combination. But the strain started showing. Sarah resented having to turn down showings to attend parent-teacher conferences. I got frustrated constantly being the one to leave work early for doctor's appointments. The arguments started small but grew bigger. The breaking point came when Marcus was 5. Sarah had a huge listing she was trying to close, a multi-million-dollar property that would have been her biggest commission ever. The showing was scheduled for the same day as Marcus's kindergarten graduation. She chose the showing. I sat in that tiny chair in the kindergarten classroom, watching our son accept his little diploma, while taking a video to show his mom later. Marcus kept looking at the empty chair next to me, and my heart broke a little more each time. The divorce was surprisingly amicable, all things considered. We both knew we'd failed at marriage but were determined to succeed at co-parenting. We split everything down the middle, the assets, the debts, and most importantly, time with Marcus. The custody schedule was ironclad, every other week, plus alternating holidays and special occasions. We even set up a joint account for Marcus's expenses, both depositing equal amounts each month. For 3 years, it worked beautifully. Marcus adjusted well, probably better than either of us. He had 2 rooms, 2 sets of toys, and double the love. Sarah and I remained civil, attending his soccer games and school events together, sometimes even grabbing coffee afterward to discuss Marcus's activities and needs. Then the housing market took a dive. I started noticing the changes gradually. Sarah, who had always been meticulous about her appearance, began showing up to custody exchanges in the same outfits repeatedly. Her usual salon-perfect hair started showing roots. Small things, but noticeable if you'd known someone for 15 years. The first real red flag came during back-to-school shopping. We'd always split these expenses, but this time Sarah was weirdly insistent on buying everything herself. I should have recognized it for what it was, establishing a pattern of her paying more for Marcus's needs. Classic lawyer prep work, as I'd later learn. Then came the casual questions about my work during our custody exchanges. That new project you mentioned must be paying well, huh? Does your company still do those big holiday bonuses? Marcus mentioned you got a new gaming system. Must be nice to have that kind of disposable income. I kept my responses vague and noncommittal. Years of marriage had taught me that Sarah never asked about money without an agenda. The real bombshell dropped during one of Marcus's soccer games. We were sitting on opposite ends of the bleachers, our usual arrangement, when I noticed she was talking to another divorced mom, let's call her Debbie. I didn't think much of it until later that week when I overheard Marcus on the phone with Sarah. But Mom, why do I need new cleats? Dad just bought me some. That's when I started paying closer attention. Debbie, I learned, had recently won a substantial child support modification from her ex, despite having a similar custody arrangement to ours. Sarah and she had become quite chummy lately, often having lunch together and going to the same divorce support group meetings. Then came that fateful text message about her lawyer contacting me. I still have it saved. Hi John, just wanted to give you a heads up that my lawyer will be contacting you about adjusting child support payments. Nothing personal, just trying to ensure Marcus has the same lifestyle in both homes, smiley face. That passive-aggressive smiley face emoji still makes my blood boil. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I called my buddy Mike, who'd gone through a similar situation last year. He recommended his lawyer, Jessica Martinez, saying she was expensive but worth every penny. I made an appointment for the next day. Jessica's office was exactly what you'd expect from a high-end family law firm, all dark wood and leather-bound books. But Jessica herself was a surprise. I'd expected someone older, more traditional. Instead, I found myself facing a woman about my age who looked more like a tech CEO than a lawyer, complete with an Apple Watch and a dual monitor setup that would make any gamer jealous. "So," she said, after I explained the situation, "your ex-wife wants child support despite equal custody and comparable incomes? That's bold." "Stupid, but bold." She started typing rapidly. "Tell me about her lawyer." I showed her the legal documents I'd received. "His name is Theodore Clinton, but he goes by Ted. Never heard of him before." Jessica actually snorted. "Oh, this is going to be fun. Ted's new to family law. He usually handles real estate contracts. Must be a contact from your ex's work." She spent the next hour grilling me about everything: our incomes, custody arrangements, Marcus's expenses, even Sarah's recent spending habits. I mentioned the BMW, and Jessica's eyes lit up. "New purchase? Last month. Right after she started talking about needing more money for Marcus's expenses. Perfect." The next few weeks were a flurry of activity. Jessica's team dug into everything. They subpoenaed Sarah's bank records, pulled credit reports, and even found social media posts where she'd bragged about her self-care shopping sprees. Meanwhile, I documented every interaction with Sarah, every expense, every text message. The day before court, I had a final prep meeting with Jessica. "Remember," she said, "stay calm tomorrow. No matter what Sarah or her lawyer say, don't react. Let them dig their own hole. And wear that navy suit we talked about, it makes you look both successful and responsible." The morning of court, I arrived early. The courthouse was one of those imposing old buildings that always make you feel like you've done something wrong, even when you haven't. I was sitting on a bench outside the courtroom, reviewing our documentation one last time, when I heard the distinct click of expensive heels on marble. Sarah had arrived, and she'd gone all out. Designer suit, fresh highlights, that signature perfume that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Ted Clinton shuffled along behind her, already looking overwhelmed, his tie slightly crooked. Inside the courtroom, things got interesting fast. The judge, Honorable Margaret Chen, was not what either Sarah or her lawyer had expected. She was known for her no-nonsense approach to family law, and today was no exception. The first red flag for Sarah's side came when Judge Chen started reviewing the financial declarations. She kept making these little sounds that made Ted Clinton increasingly nervous. By the time she got to the part about Sarah's recent purchases, he was visibly sweating. But the real entertainment started during Ted's presentation. He tried arguing that Sarah needed support to maintain Marcus's standard of living at her house. Judge Chen let him talk for about 2 minutes before interrupting. "Counsel," she said, adjusting her glasses, "are you familiar with Martinez v. Rodriguez?" Ted's blank stare said it all. "It's a rather important precedent regarding child support in equal custody situations," Judge Chen continued. "Perhaps you should review it. But more importantly, can you explain to me why your client purchased a luxury vehicle while claiming financial hardship?" Sarah whispered frantically to Ted, who looked like he wanted to disappear into his badly fitted suit. "Your Honor," he stammered, "my client's vehicle purchase is not relevant to." "On the contrary," Judge Chen interrupted. "It speaks directly to your client's credibility regarding financial need." She turned to Sarah. "Mrs. Last name, according to these bank records, you spent $89,000 on a new vehicle last month, while simultaneously claiming you needed child support to meet your son's basic needs. Would you care to explain that decision?" The courtroom was dead silent. Sarah's face went through an impressive range of colors before settling on a shade somewhere between embarrassed and furious. I needed reliable transportation for my real estate business," she managed. "And your previous vehicle was unreliable?" "It was a 2021 model." You could actually hear Judge Chen's pen click as she set it down. "So you replaced a 3-year-old vehicle with a luxury SUV while preparing to claim financial hardship? Interesting decision." The rest of the hearing was basically a masterclass in how not to pursue a child support modification. Jessica barely had to say anything. Judge Chen did most of the work for us, methodically dismantling every argument Ted tried to make. The conclusion was even better than I'd hoped. Not only was Sarah's petition denied, but Judge Chen also ordered her to pay my legal fees and strongly suggested she reassess her priorities. The look on Sarah's face when she heard the total for my lawyer's fees was almost worth all the stress of the previous weeks. But the real victory came 2 weeks later, during my regular custody exchange with Marcus. Sarah was driving her old car again, and for the first time in months, she actually seemed humble. "Look," she said after Marcus ran inside to get his tablet, "I messed up. I let Debbie and some others get in my head about what I deserved from this divorce. It wasn't fair to you, and it definitely wasn't fair to Marcus. I'll admit, I wasn't expecting an apology. As long as we're both focusing on what's best for Marcus, we're good," I replied. She nodded. The judge was right. I need to reassess some things. She paused. And maybe get a better lawyer. We actually laughed at that one. Since then, things have improved significantly. Sarah's been picking up more listings, working harder instead of trying to get more money from me. She even started a side gig doing virtual property tours, adapting to the changing market instead of fighting it. Marcus seems happier too. Kids pick up on more than we realize, and I think the tension between Sarah and me was affecting him more than we knew. Now that we're back to truly co-parenting instead of competing, he's thriving. Edit 1. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the awards and support, everyone. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, we have a formal custody agreement through the court that spells out everything, including expense splitting. Document everything, folks. 2. For those asking about Mr. Clueless, yes, he really was that unprepared. I later heard he's gone back to exclusively handling real estate contracts. 3. Several people have asked about the BMW, it was a 2024 X5. Way outside what she could reasonably afford on her current income. 4. To the people suggesting I should have gone after her for my lost wages for the court day too, I just wanted it over with. Sometimes peace of mind is worth more than money. 5. No, I won't share the name of the divorce support group that gave Sarah these ideas, but let's just say they have a reputation in our area for encouraging this kind of behavior. Edit 2. Since people keep asking, yes, I still have the screenshot of that, thumbs up, response. No, I won't post it because privacy. But it's definitely saved in my evidence folder, just in case. Edit 3. Stop sending me DMs asking for my lawyer's contact info. She's great, but she's also very busy and only takes cases in our state. Edit 4. To answer the questions about Marcus, yes, he's doing great. He just made the travel soccer team and got straight A's on his last report card. And yes, Sarah and I both attended his last game and managed to sit on the same set of bleachers without any drama. Edit 5. Holy cow, front page. RIP my inbox. And thanks for the platinum, kind stranger. Final edit, for those asking for an update, Sarah sold the BMW, at a loss, but that's not my problem, and things have been pretty smooth. She's actually killing it with her virtual tour business now. Sometimes people need a wake-up call to make positive changes. Final update. Hey Reddit. A lot of you have been DMing me asking for an update too, this previous post, so I figured it was time to share how things have played out over the last year. Buckle up, because this story took some unexpected turns, mostly good ones, surprisingly. First off, thank you to everyone who offered advice and support on my original post. You guys were right about documenting everything, it came in handy, but not in the way you'd expect. So, where to begin? Remember how I mentioned Sarah had started a virtual tour business after the court fiasco? Well, turns out getting shut down by the judge was the best thing that could have happened to her. That side gig she started? It's now her main business, and she's absolutely crushing it. Here's what happened. About 2 months after the court date, the real estate company she worked for was bought out by a bigger firm. They were laying off agents left and right, but Sarah had already built up a decent client base with her virtual tours. She saw the writing on the wall and took a risk. She quit before they could lay her off and went all in on her virtual tour company. Plot twist, she's now making more than she ever did as a regular agent. Apparently, a lot of real estate agents hate doing virtual tours but need them in today's market. Sarah found her niche and absolutely owned it. She even hired 2 photographers and a web developer. The best part? She's working fewer hours and is actually present for more of Marcus's activities. Speaking of Marcus, now 9, this kid continues to amaze me. Remember that travel soccer team he made? They went to regionals last month. Sarah and I both took time off to drive him there. 5 hours in a car together could have been awkward, but it was actually nice. We talked about Marcus, sure, but also about life, our careers, even laughed about some old memories. It felt like we finally found that elusive friends and co-parents dynamic people talk about but rarely achieve. The biggest surprise came during that trip. We were sitting in the hotel lobby after Marcus's team won their semifinal match, proud dad moment, and Sarah said something I never expected to hear. "John, I need to thank you properly for how you handled the whole court situation last year." I nearly choked on my coffee. She continued, "You could have dragged my name through the mud, demanded full custody, or used my financial struggles against me. But you didn't. You just stood your ground and let me face the consequences of my own actions. It made me take a hard look at myself." Turns out, she'd been going to actual therapy, not those toxic divorce support groups, for the past few months. She admitted that her attempt to get child support was never really about money, it was about control and proving something to herself. Here's where that documentation I mentioned came in handy. Sarah asked if she could see my records of Marcus's expenses from the past few years. Not for court or anything negative, but to help create a better budgeting system for both households. We spent an evening going through everything and created a shared spreadsheet that's actually working better than our old system. The BMW? Long gone. She traded it in for a practical hybrid SUV that's perfect for hauling photography equipment. Less status, more sense, as she put it. But the best part of all this? Marcus is thriving. His teachers say he's more focused in class, his soccer coach says he's playing better than ever, and most importantly, he's just happier. Last week, he asked if we could all have dinner together for his birthday. A year ago, that would have been awkward as hell. Now? We're actually looking forward to it. Oh, and remember Ted, the clueless lawyer? He sent Sarah a Christmas card apologizing for his poor handling of the case and thanking her. Apparently, getting destroyed by Judge Chen motivated him to take some family law courses, and he's actually becoming competent in the field. Life is weird sometimes. The greatest change has been in our co-parenting relationship. We've moved from just tolerating each other to actually working as a team. Last month, when Marcus had a minor bicycle accident at my house, Sarah came over without drama, helped clean him up, and we all ended up ordering pizza and watching a movie together. It wasn't weird or forced, it was just three people who care about each other making the best of a situation. I'm not saying everything is perfect. We still have our moments of disagreement, but now we handle them like adults. We've learned to text each other before reacting, sleep on major decisions, and always put Marcus first. Funny story, last week, Marcus asked why we got divorced if we get along so well now. Sarah and I looked at each other and realized we had the same thought: we're better parents and better people apart than we ever were together. Sometimes that's just how life works. Sarah knows I'm posting this and said it was fine as long as I mentioned that she pays for her own luxury cars now,